I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 312. Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Well, hello, all my dear friends. Some of you I know, some of you I don't, but you are all dear to me. The letters that you send to me, the responses that you send to me when I send you my newsletters. I feel like you are all so dear to me, and I love you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for responding. And today I want to talk about something that I think is very near and dear to my heart. And that is something that I want you to really think about. Because here's what I hear a lot. When I have many sessions with people, and those of you who have only been listening to me a short time, I just want you to know that I have many sessions that I offer for free where you can come and talk to me to find out if the Thinner Peace process that I use in my program would be good for you. And the reason this mini session is so important is because for some people, I'm not the right coach, and for some people, my process is not the right program. So this mini session is very important to understand that because number one, I don't want to waste your money and I don't want to waste your time nor mine. So this is a beautiful thing that I like to do. And also, it'll probably help you get a lot more clarity around something. I can guarantee you that. But anyway, what I was saying is that when I do these mini sessions with people, this is something that I hear very often, and that is when I talk about weight loss, most of the people that talk to me tell me that the reason that they need to lose this weight is because they want to be more healthy. And it sounds good, I know. And especially with the age group that I'm dealing with, right? Menopausal women, 50s and above, maybe a little bit below. Health seems like it would become a little bit more of a priority. But this is what I want to tell you that I know for sure. It is not very compelling when it really comes down to dealing with urges, dealing with desires, and having foods in front of you and knowing what to do with them. The instant gratification comes up, the brain goes a little crazy, and giving into an urge seems like the easiest thing to do. And therefore, you think that you don't have control. And what you want more than anything else is what you tell me is you just want to be healthy. Now, this is what I want to say to you about that. In a way, it's kind of like BS. I'm not going to say the whole word, right? But it's really BS because you don't really buy it, because if you really did buy that you wanted health, and that it was the most important thing, you would not be talking to me on this mini session. So this is what I want to offer you today that I really want you to think about is what do you really want? What is really compelling? And this is what I want to tell you about the process, this Thinner Peace process that I offer and why I think it is so successful with the people that I work with is because really what I offer in this process is emotional health first. And I think everybody coming to me is trying to get physical health first. They think, if I lose the weight and then I am quote unquote more healthy, then I'll feel emotionally better. I'll like myself better. I'll say better things to myself. I'll start loving myself. I'll feel happier. You think most of the people that talk to me think it's the emotions will come after the physical weight loss, which you believe is where your health is going to come from. Now, if that were true, as I said before, we would not be talking on this mini session. So this is what I want to offer you about the success of my Thinner Peace process is what I absolutely do is I address emotional health first, not the weight loss. But what's so interesting is that the more emotionally healthy you are, the more emotionally balanced you are, the easier it becomes to deal with the stuff that comes up from eating. So most of you are looking for physical health first so that you can feel emotionally better. And what I'm saying to you is it needs to be the opposite, why it's so important to do this work, why it was so helpful to me too. Because I really believe that if I could just keep this weight off, I would be happy. I would have everything I want. Everything would be wonderful. I would be emotionally so great, which was never the case for 30 years. But that once I did the work with a coach on what I'm talking to you about today, that is when the real process begins. So here's the interesting thing about my Thinner Peace process is I use food to bring up all your emotional baggage. Like, do you think that's brilliant? Because I think it is brilliant. I love doing it with people that we do food journals all the time, but we do them because I want to see what's going on with you emotionally. What is causing you your pain? And you think it's just that you can't control yourself around food and somehow food is the problem. And you know by listening to my podcast for as long as you've been listening to it, if you've been listening to it for a while, and if you've been listening to any of the transformational videos that I've done with so many of my clients, probably one of the first things that they always will say is food is not the problem. And this is what they learned when they talk about it, is how they experienced emotional well-being through the coaching that I did. And like I talked about on the podcast that I just did on episode number 280, where I talked about what is weight loss coaching, is that the coaching that I do is I use food to help you become aware of your emotional well-being, your emotional health, so that you can decide what you want to do with the food that's going into your mouth, which ends up leading to weight loss. That is the benefit of dealing with your emotions and seeing why you eat when you're not hungry. And I know it sounds so simple, but I got to tell you how very beneficial it actually is. And I really want you to think about, what do you really want? Physical health first or emotional health? Now listen, I totally understand that we all want to be physically healthy. But for many of you who come to me, you are quote unquote are physically healthy. You just think that weight loss will make you less of a risk for getting other things, but you haven't been in the emergency room. You don't have anything terrible going on with you, but you scare yourself into believing that it could cause something, which is not compelling to not eating a cookie. You think it would be. It's like, ooh, your brain sees a cookie and the urge and the desire gets so strong in your body. And then you believe that you have to give in to the urge because it feels so uncomfortable in your body. That's actually part of what I deal with when I'm talking about emotional health. Did you know that urges, the desire to eat something when you're not hungry, that lights up the brain when the brain just wants that dopamine, that instant gratification, that is emotional health when you know how to handle those urges. In fact, I call those urges or desires, I call that your negative emotional hunger. And you know, by listening to me, if you've been listening to me for a while, I talk a lot about physical hunger and emotional hunger. And what most people can do first when they start working with me is they can start connecting to what their physical hunger is before and after they eat. And the next step of really dealing with emotions is where most of the work is once you know when you're hungry and when you're full, then everything else is emotional health. And for you to believe that you just have to have the physical health first, you just have to lose the weight first so that you can get emotional health, it's the other way around. That's how I want you to see it. Is yes, if you want to be physically healthier, you actually need emotional health first. And many of you, not all of you, I totally get that there are different scenarios where that physical health is paramount. But that is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about for those of you who are getting along in life physically, just want more and scare themselves thinking they're going to lose their physical health. All you're really doing is scaring yourself emotionally and making it more likely that you're going to give into urges to make yourself feel better with food. Does that make sense to you? Do you understand what I'm saying? Is that your emotional health, your desires, your urges, even your sadness, even your restlessness, wanting to fill those emotions with food is all about dealing with the emotional landscape. And when that emotional landscape is handled and balanced, which is exactly what I do with my Thinner Peace process and with the type of coaching that I do, is we get to those emotions. And the healthier your emotions become, the more likely it is that you will also be able to take care of yourself better from a physical point of view, right? And so for many of you, you're doing it the opposite way. You're going, first, I have to get healthy. I have to lose the weight so I have a better chance of being healthy. And then I'll take care of my emotions. I'll feel better, right? But it just doesn't work like that. So this is what I want you to think about for this week. I want you to think more about your emotional bank account, emotional wealth. Because I even think of, for many, many people that talk to me, sometimes they don't want to invest in themselves because of material wealth. Like they don't think they have enough money to invest in their emotional health. And sometimes that's exactly the same thing as physical health. So I really want you to think of that most important is we want to have good and healthy emotions. And that the healthier our emotions are, and you know when I'm talking about emotions, our feelings, all of our feelings and all of our emotions come from our thinking. And there is no better way to bring up the thoughts that don't serve you, that create emotions that don't serve you, than by being coached on the food that you're putting in your mouth when you're eating, when you're not hungry. It is just this beautiful process that I have created that I am in awe of every single time I coach somebody. It's like, wow, I cannot believe that we are going to do all of this work on eating just to bring up your thinking and your feelings so that we can help you have much, much better emotional well-being. And in the end, that's what we all want. When you understand that what creates our feelings is our thinking, it's really important to know what you're thinking. And sometimes you just can't do that by yourself, which is when a coach really comes in handy, because I can get inside your mind and I can show you that what you think is beneficial to you, like you've had a long, hard day and it's nighttime. Do you know how many people tell me about the I'm good during the day? It's just the nighttime. Do you know how many people tell me that? Do you think that that's balanced emotional health? What goes on after 5 o'clock that's not going on before 5 o'clock? That's your emotional landscape. You want to have better physical health? You have to figure that out first. Guess who can help you do that? Yeah, you're listening to her. That is what I do. Now, maybe you don't want to hire a coach. Maybe that's not what you want to do right now. I'm good with that. I have 282 podcasts. And if you've just started listening or you've been listening for a while, I am really going to suggest to you that you go back to the beginning and listen to the first 10 so that you can hear more about my thinner peace process to see if you can apply it. Because you, by listening to my podcast, can create more emotional well-being by just doing what I tell you to do by using food. But if you've already done that and you still can't quite get it, that's when coaching comes in. Because like I said, you listen to yourself all day long and you think you're pretty brilliant with some of this thinking, right? I've worked all day. It's been so hard. I don't know what my problem is, but I think maybe I should just have this or have that, or maybe I just need something to relax. You think that's a good idea in the moment because it's instant gratification, right? But what I want to teach you is how to have emotional well-being, to have pleasure that lasts for a long time, not instant. And that is called emotional balance. I want to show you that. So if you want to have good physical health, then my suggestion is get your brain together first so that we can put it all together. You put your emotions together. You learn how to take care of yourself better. You learn how to love yourself better, or you just learn to love yourself for the first time. That happens a lot. That's part of your emotions, how you feel about yourself. It's also important because what you put in your mouth is how you take care of yourself. And the best way to take care of yourself is to love yourself, to like yourself. It's part of the emotional landscape. It's part of what coaching is all about. And of course, I can't stop talking without saying the self-compassion portion, right? That's also part of emotional well-being, is learning how to be kind to yourself, how to be nice to yourself so that you can take care of yourself. Many of you think that self-compassion and kindness is eating as many cookies as you can because you had a hard day. But that's actually called indulgence, not self-compassion. I want to be able to show you the difference. That's part of emotional balance in order to have a better, stronger, physically healthier body. Listen, if this sounds interesting to you, you know what you have to do. I do mini sessions. I just talked about it. And you can go to drdebbutler.com/work with me. And you too can set up a mini session with me and to find out if I can help you create this emotional balance that I'm talking about. So not only can you lose the weight, but you also end up becoming more physically healthy by having a more balanced mind. And of course, I'm never going to leave you without saying this. No matter where else you go, no matter what else you do today, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye. If you've been following my podcast and you're loving all the tools that I teach you, but you're just not sure that you can do it or apply it by yourself, then please go to drdebbutler.com/work with me. And you can find out if the program that I do and the coaching that I do will help you get to where you want to be, to learn all the tools that I teach and be able to make it a part of your life. Just go to drdebbutler.com/work with me. You can set up a free 30-minute mini session.